We have breaking news. This just in. We have limited edition t-shirts and hoodies available on the website, unofficiallounge.com. Get yours while they last. Everything's for sale. Like and subscribe. Now back to this episode.
The Unofficial Lounge with Ashante, Cravonne, and Monty. We're here to give you the insight into some of the biggest plays you remember, involving the people wearing the stripes. We look at the grit it takes to become an official while exploring the history of officiating with the people who made it. It's more than black and white. On this episode of the Unofficial Lounge, we talk to coordinator of officials of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Mr. Eddie Kelly.
But Red, and you don't know Red if you ever heard first down. Red always said that, don't go out there being Red Cashion. Don't be trying to be the next Red. Go out there and be the best you.
Mr. Kelly talks about the new coach at Jackson State University, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime.
Well, he brings prime time to us, I think he'll be able to recruit Florida, and I think he coached a high school down in Dallas, so he'll be able to recruit Texas, and of course, in his home state now of Mississippi, and probably Louisiana in between. And so I think it's a feather in our cap, I think it'll bring more exposure to the SWAC also, where the TV affiliates might want to pick up an extra game or two from the SWAC, which gives our officials an opportunity to showcase their talents, So I think it's a win-win situation.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Unofficial Lounge. We are joined today by Mr. Eddie Kelly. Eddie grew up in Lufkin, Texas. He has a beautiful wife, 4 beautiful daughters. He has been officiating football since 1987. Eddie, in his career, highlights some of them, but many. 5 SWAC championship games, 3 Bayou Classics. Eddie still coaches for his middle school, head football coach, also coaches little cross country. He's the coach of coaches. He is the men of men. He has helped out a lot of people when it comes to the world of officiating. His candor and his skill, his people skills, has elevated him to become now the supervisor of officials of the SWAC conference. Please, everybody, welcome to the Unofficial Lounge, Mr. Eddie Kelly.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
How you doing, boss?
I'm good, Mr. Jordan.
Don't get fired on your day off, Ashante, okay? That's number one rule today.
It has happened.
And they scared to have it happen again.
I ain't Craig, man. I ain't Craig on Friday.
So, Eddie, to get this started, tell us about growing up in Lufkin.
That's a nice town, man, about 30,000 people or so. Football is king there. We had football season, basketball season, and then spring football season. Now we played the other sports in between, but those were the things that were important, and we lived it, and football was one of those things that we all really grew up around. For integration, the high school in Lufkin that we went to was Dunbar High School, and they had like a 66-game winning streak. These guys were like kings around there, And of course, in my days, we couldn't match that, but we went 7-2-1 my junior year and 5-5 my senior year because of a lot of injuries, But it's good to be on the winning side, Winning is always better than not. So
It's funny,
Lufkin is a
Eddie.
great place to grow up,
It's funny, Eddie, to describing to somebody in California that, like in the South, like if you don't play football, that's like a knock on you. If you like, hey, it's like tell people like, hey, when you in the South that you play football, people give you like that little bit more added respect growing up.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I had a good friend who kind of made me pause on that when he's a drum player, right? And got band and stuff now, and he's in the band in high school, And we was like you, we really didn't give him no respect, but he said, "Hey, I was on the bus with a lot of girls."
The same thing happened in football with me, Eddie. We had a drum player. He came out for tour days, and he went back to the band, and then it clicked 4 years later. Like, oh, he was with the drum majors.
Hey, man, I had to give him his props for that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You gotta choose your friends wisely.
Hey, I mean, I love football, but that made me kind of cut them some slack when they said they were in the band, just for the bus trip and nothing else.
Yeah.
So Eddie, you left Lufkin to go to Texas State University. Texas Southern. Sorry.
Even though Texas State, is a nice place because my baby girl just graduated from Texas State down in San Marcos, and they try to call themselves TSU, but we are the TSU. And there's people that go to Tennessee State, they're not TSU. It's only one TSU, and that's Texas Southern University.
Talk that talk, Eddie. Talk that.
Get that right,
So you have one daughter going to TSU, the fake one. What about your other 3 daughters?
The oldest one went to the TSU also, and the one up under her graduated from Prairie View. I understand that's the enemy, but she had a full ride in engineering, and so I ain't mad at them. I give them some love, and the next one was out there with y'all. She graduated from Southern Cal. So, and then the baby girl, of course, graduated from Texas State here this May.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Right. So Eddie, let's jump right into it. What started you out in officiating? What made you go from a player to wearing the stripes?
Well, great question. We had an older brother, our oldest brother, officiated. He actually officiated some of my games in middle school and in high school, and down in Lufkin. And one Saturday, my brother that's under me, Dunn, and I were at my house, and we basically bought a case of beer and pizza and was watching football, on Saturday. And he called up, and we were talking, and he said, "What y'all doing?" And we told him. He said, "That sounds good. I just got off the Pee Wee field, and I got about $200 here. I'm going to get me a case of beer and some pizza," And it kind of hit us that he was spending other folks' money, and we were spending our hard-earned money from working on ours, So that kind of lit the light bulb in us. And he and another brother that I have here, James, the one that's a chef, we all started up the next year, and been at it ever since, man. It's a great fraternity, to know guys like yourself on the West Coast and know guys on the East Coast and up north and stuff from officiating. It's a great thing. I'm glad we got started on that. But my older brother was the reason why I got started.
Okay, so when you start the Pee Wee, so what made you want to make that bump up to go to the high school level?
Good question also. I was perfectly happy with doing Pee Wees and junior highs and stuff, and learning the craft and watching guys. And then, it's that word of mouth thing, some cats you work with say, "Hey, man, you can work. You ought to think about getting on a crew," and here in Houston, we were top heavy with a bunch of older guys and stuff, but with 5-man crews, we worked to be, you would be a Division III and a Division II sometimes, starting at 1 all over to go to a 5. And it's cats that wouldn't be on the crew because it just wasn't any spots, And like now, we got cats that'll get on a crew that's a Division IV because we're running 7-man crews and stuff. And the fact now we got like 80 crews, But the thing is that you had to grind, So just word of mouth from other officials saying that, "Hey, man, I think you can work," And basically kind of started that same way that once was doing pretty well in high school, it was cast to say, hey, man, you can work, you ought to try college, you know. So it was the same way. Unfortunately, you know, I did that camp thing for like 10 years before I finally got the breakthrough, you know. But you know, that's something I tell people all the time. If it's a goal of yours and it's something you really want to do, don't let anybody, I know it's a family show and I don't want to get too, but don't let nobody piss on your parade. You know, if you really want to do it, just stay at it, you know, grind, and good things will happen, you know. And it was funny when I came out to Reno, you know, which was big bucks for us to come out there, you know, and fly out there and pay that almost just $1,000 then. And Cravonne was there too, you know.
Yeah.
And that was when I look back through that book, man, there's a lot of good cats that was out there, man.
Yeah.
Marlo was on my crew. I had Hugo Cruz on my crew, you know, just from at Reno, you know. And not only that, I had Tony Corrett was one of the guys that critiqued me, you know, because listening to other people and stuff, I would never go as a referee, which I was, you know, but that was the thing that they would always say back then that, hey, nobody will hire you as a referee.
Right.
You know, they move you from other positions. But then out there was where I learned the fact that go where you're comfortable, where that you know that's your natural position. And then they might move you, but they'll know, you know,
he's got it,
that you can work. So, you know, and what's my man name? Rivera. They ran the camp.
Ken Rivera.
You know, Ken begged me to be a referee. You know, he was in Houston at a camp that I was here with. George Coleman was running. And he pulled me out of the camp. Of course, I was working line judge then. And he was like, Eddie Kelly. You know how Ken was. I really need you to work referee. I hear you are a referee. I said, yeah, Ken, but they ain't gonna hire me as a referee. And I know we all supposed to say these nice things about going to camp, that I'm going to get better. And I said, I've been doing that for years, you know, but I'm asked to get hired, you know. So it worked out real well, you know, out there, you know, with Tony gave me some good things and stuff, you know, and it went well. And I had a great time out there. And then I got to talk to Walt one-on-one out there because he was the only one in my footprint at that time, you know. And we had a little catch too here in the Houston area where it was either the SWAC or Conference USA, Southland, Big 12, and that was it, you know? So their thing was, you need some college experience. Well, if y'all won't hire me, how am I going to get it?
You're right.
You know?
There's a chicken and an egg problem here, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
You know? So before I went to Reno, I had a friend of mine, well, we became friends, and he's a big-time referee in the 12. My man Chief, he's I just went blank with his name. Randy Crystal.
Okay.
Remember Randy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I always went to Blinn to do the clinic as a referee. You know, the rest of them I went at line judge, whatever. But I go to Blinn to get some stuff from Randy, and some of the Bible was always there, you know, and stuff. And they were like the two top dogs in the 12, you know, and to get my crew ready for the season and this and that, you know, especially when you're doing 24 and count to playoff 30 games a year, you know, I had to be on top of my game to referee, right? So at that time, Millis was over the 12 right before Walt got it, you know, and they picked out a crew that they wanted to see Saturday morning at Blinn. And I was a referee for that crew. And Randy was the observer. You know, they take us in and watch the game film after that. And there was a couple of cats from Austin in there, you know. Brian Ernest was one of them. He's a back judge in the 12 now. And a couple of more guys. And so Randy was critiquing us and telling us this and that, you know, and he said, guys, I'm sorry, I'm a referee. I watch referees, and Eddie, you did this, you did that, you know, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like I say, I've been in this circuit a long time, you know. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, appreciate it, you know, because he ain't no supervisor, you know.
Right. He don't have no games.
He
He
ain't
don't have no games.
He don't have games.
Who's got the checkbook around
Right.
here?
Yeah,
Right.
appreciate all this, dog, but you're not Millers, you know.
Right.
And that time, Blackwood was over the WAC, and Harvey was over the Southland, you know, and stuff. You know, I said,
Okay.
I need them to be telling me this, you know, and stuff. So after we walked out, you know, Brian Ernest pulled me over, you know, and he said, hey, Eddie, you know, Randy, I don't know what you did, but man, Randy was all over you, you know, you was knocking it out the park. I said, I appreciate that, Brian. He said, no. I ain't shooting no smoke up here. Say, we've been around Randy a long time. We ain't never heard him compliment a guy at referee the way he complimented you. I said, well, appreciate it. You know, and that's how me and Randy kind of hit it off, you know, and the next year there, we actually went to A&M, and Randy critiqued me again, and he said the same thing, you know, and I said, well, look, Randy, I'll tell you what, man. I told him about the catch-22 and everybody saying I needed experience and this and that, you know. I said, well, I'm about ready to get this camp stuff up, you know. I've been at it a minute.
You said 10 years, right?
Right.
10
Yes,
years
sir.
before you broke through?
Right.
10
Okay.
years, you know. So to put it in numbers, like Ashante talking about I'm old, I started trying to get in college at like 39, and I didn't get in until I was 49, you know.
Mm.
So, you
Wow.
know, and it's a lot of cats, you know, now that I'm supervisor, I should have hired you. Hey, man.
It's a clean show, Eddie. It's a clean show, Eddie.
You
So-
MFers, huh?
Hey, Eddie, I got to go back. So a reference point. When you say Ben, was it Blinn?
Yeah, Blinn Junior College.
It's a
It's
junior
the
college.
only junior college that guys in the Houston area at that time were able to work.
Wow.
You know? Yeah,
And when you say also A&M, we're talking about Texas A&M spring
Yeah.
game, right?
Texas A&M in the spring.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then another thing you brought up, you said the divisions in Houston were Division 1. So what is that? Is that like 5A, 6A? What's that classifications?
Well, you're talking about when I was talking about as officials getting
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
Like, say if you just start out, you're a Division 5, you know, at
Got you.
0 points or whatever, you know, and you work your way up to a 1 where you got
Got you.
600 points or whatever, you know.
Okay.
You get 2 points for a varsity game, 1 point for any of those other games under there. For Pee-wee, they used to give us a 4th, you know, which wasn't bad. You go do 6 of them bad boys.
All right. So
Not
that's
to
what
mention-
Brian.
Not to
Yeah,
mention
that's
the
what-
money was better, but you
Yeah.
also got, you know, you can get 2 points. So
Well, the whole thing
that's
you're trying to
what-
get
one
to
and a
is
half.
that 3 and Q. Get those 3 games and hit that barbecue, huh?
oh man, it was on. It was
So,
on. You know.
That's what Brian Boston was talking about when he had to work the points up. So you still had to do that when you was coming up.
Oh yeah, yeah. To you,
Okay.
once I got to be a 1, you know, hey,
And
It is what
you
it
worked
is.
them 18 games a week, huh?
hey. I tell you what though, it ain't nothing like working 2 college games a week though.
Okay.
Talking about sweet, that's sweet.
But you can still, as long as you can pull that Monday, Tuesday, you should be straight though, right?
Yeah, but you know, hey, my hips and knees and stuff are feeling that now.
Yeah, you don't want to hit a gopher hole.
No way.
So you saying 10 years you grinding and they giving you the great story. Keep doing what you're doing. We like you.
Yeah,
So how did you
yeah,
get to
and,
this break?
and back to what Randy, you know, the way we hit it off, you know, after I told Randy that I was ready to just be the best high school official I could be and be happy with it, you know, and he said, you know, basically said, how old are you? You know, and I told him, you know, he said, hey man, don't give up. I was older when I got my shot, you know. He said, sometimes it just works out that way. He said, but you are good enough to call in college. No doubt in my mind, you know. So instead of me giving up circuit, I think I went 1 more year, and that's when I went to Reno and talked to Walt and all of that. And after that summer, they gave me a call, said that they was going to watch them. At that time, we had the DVDs and, sent them in a DVD at the game. And they wouldn't promise me nothing, but they take a look. So the next April, I went to Mr. Mitchell's camp in Birmingham and got hired in the SWAC.
So you're doing all this, but you're not only officiating. You're all in all types of football. You're holding the chains for Byron Boston. You're holding the chains at what other schools. Your full week schedule is all around football this whole time.
Well, I've been teaching and coaching for 31 years. So I started officiating, say, about 3-4 years before that. So my kids and my wife in the fall would say it's football, football, football. Even though they wouldn't say it that night. Football, football, football.
One of the sacrifices.
Yeah. And it's love of the game, but you got a service also, whereas I know Cravonne and I know how hard he works and I know the time he puts in, not only just on the field, but off the field, studying and watching film like we all do, So you have a service. And I tell young coaches that, especially when they can coach, don't give away your service. Because I guarantee you, if somebody is out there in the professional world, he has a service, he come to your house or to do something like Cravonne was talking about, that electrician, he's going to get paid. Right. Ain't no doubt about it. So you need to get paid. I don't care how small it is. I do like it when it's large. Get paid for your services.
So when you got hired in the SWAC, was it as a referee?
No. I was hired as a line judge, headline. And, the next year, in the spring camp that Mr. Mitchell had, I auditioned for referee. And my first year, which I also learned that, I was kind of miffed. I think my first year I did five or six games at line judge and head lineman. And then my second year I did 4 at referee, 4 at line judge, and 1 at side judge.
Ooh.
And that's just in case, huh?
That's half game. I have uniform. We'll travel with me.
Hey, so we learned early that when you saw that $200, you ain't turning no games down. Basically, that's the motto.
Hey, babe. Hey, put me in, coach. I like to play.
There you go.
Always ready.
Always. And then on, I refereed on out, and you guys know Ron Turner, right? Ron's a center judge in the SEC now.
I do know Ron. I'm trying to put a face with it, but I've met him before.
He was in the XFL too.
Right. I've met Ron.
Ron is from Monroe, great guy, right? And Ron's another one that actually, Ron had got in the SWAC, and one of the guys that was, we knew each other, and he knew how hard I was getting after it and stuff, and always encouraged me and stuff. So Ron was on my crew as an umpire when we moved him to the backfield, and helped me tremendously because I knew Ron didn't know a thing about being an umpire because he was a back judge, okay? And I always had very good umpires, so I didn't worry about umpires, right? So it kind of flipped the switch that I had to learn umpire to help him. So we would be on the field like, hey, we're number 2, so that we know if we had a penalty or something, so we both got into it, So okay. we got pretty good at it, and he got damn good at it, whereas last year he worked the semifinal at center judge at the SEC,
Right.
So we became even closer. So we got to talking, and I was telling my story, man, I didn't get 5 games my first year in the SWAC. And the next year I got 9. I've been working 9 or more ever since. He said, you don't shut up. He said, I got in the SWAC, and over the first 4 years, I didn't do but 5 games.
Right.
Exactly. Earn your time.
Okay, let me hush. Because I know I am a little greedy, and I understand. I was pretty greedy, because as guys tell you, I rode Mr. Mitchell, hey, Mr. Mitchell, I got a week off. That's for the off season. I don't need a week off, I need to open. And hell, I even worked the game at umpire in the backfield when the cat hurt his knee, and I was the president of the association, so the cat had to call me talking about his insurance and this and that. I said, yeah, we'll take care of it. As soon as he hung up, Mr. Mitchell, Lewis is hurt. I'll go work. I'm off. I'll go work. You work umpire. I will work that game at umpire.
Right.
And I did, So, it's like I say.
Like you said, half uniform will work.
Ain't
nice.
Why sit at home?
So Eddie, I think the first time we met was at one of the camps, but once I got to know you, you was already the mayor of the SWAC. How did that become? What gave you the skills and the people person that you are to just everybody knew who Eddie was? I mean, I showed up in Houston to the camp and go talk to Eddie. I'm like, who's Eddie? You don't know who Eddie is? And I mean, you were known as the mayor of the SWAC. What brought you to that?
Well, I remember when you left your iPad out there at Katie.
Oh.
That's some of the jobs of being the mayor, as you say, that you gotta clean up behind folks. You wasn't the only one. Had to get Sarah Thomas stuff to her too. But when I came in, Mr. Harold Cooper, who's now one of my replay guys, and he'll kick me for calling him Mr. He wants me to call him Cooper, I said, but that's just that respect I have for him. Coop did all the big games, in the SWAC. If you turn on the TV, Coop was there, And I was fortunate enough that my second year in, when I wasn't referee and I was on his crew as a line judge, and I learned a ton from him, the way that he handled the coaches and the fans and everybody, with respect and with class and having a good time while still doing his job, And I just emulated Mr. Cooper a lot, as far as trying to not be like him or be him, because that's one thing that I learned from Red Cashion. And that's one thing about all these camps. You got to meet such great people, and stuff. But Red, and if you don't know Red, if you ever heard First Down.
Oh, yeah, Red Cashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Red always said that, don't go out there being Red Cashion. Don't be trying to be the next Red. Go out there and be the best you, Go out there and do your thing. And you take stuff from people that you can use and you use it. And if they have stuff that you don't want to use, you junk it, But you got to go out there and be the best you, And after learning a lot of that stuff and watching Mr. Cooper handle stuff, and when I got opportunity, always was me, I was the same way that I am now. I would talk to coaches, I would talk to players, people tell me, don't talk to that rep. I say, no. Let the young man say what he needs to say, I say, he's saying it intelligently, he didn't come at me off the wall or whatever. Let him say what he got to say, and then I give him an answer, And that's one thing that I always did with any coach, from high school on up. If they ask me a question, if I couldn't get the answer to them right then, I would say, Coach, I will get back to you. And I would. I'd make it a point that I get back to him, Now, there's also a point where everybody has that one thing that you cross the line. And if they cross the line with me, I let them know that too, as professionally as I could,
Right.
And, it got to be where when I came into a city or came into the ball game, and with that respect from those coaches and me respecting them, they would say the thing that I always love to hear coaches say. Hey, we ain't got to worry about the officiating tonight. All we got to do is coach, you know, and that's what you want, you know. That's what. So to answer your question as how I became the mayor, you know, it was part of that, and then part of the fact that once I started running the account for Mr. Mitchell and you know and stuff like that, you get to be like Cravonne said when he met me, you know, everybody's coming at you, you know, and I treated him nice, and not to mention the corner was nice.
Eddie Corner. Eddie's Corner. The world famous Eddie's Corner.
We enjoyed ourselves. We worked hard and we played hard. Definitely.
Nice. So you get into the SWAC, you're working the SWAC, you become a referee. How was it getting that first Bayou Classic? Because that's the game to get in the SWAC.
Oh my God. I mean, it's one of those like life-changing experiences, you know, because it's like the first year I went, I was an alternate, you know. So I kind of knew the vibe, you know, and all. So that helped too. And the next year when I went as the referee, you know, it was just off the chain. You know, you got 70 to 80,000 people screaming, you know, either in black and gold or blue and gold. And they're just passionate, you know. The bands are at it, you know, and the teams are at it, and they just get after each other, man. You know, people wait for it every year. You know, they make their reservations after that game is over, you know, and stuff. So it's just a great experience, you know, to be a part of. Matter of fact, the game I did in the Pac-12, we were at Washington State against Boise, which I found out was a good rivalry too, you know.
That had to be one of the longest games in history.
It wasn't my fault. But I agree. And I was running center judge at that game. I'd been happier if I was at referee, but, you know, it's all good. But, you know, the Cats was, you know, it was a sold-out crowd for them and all, you know, and Cats was, you know, sizing me up a little bit. And I understand, you know, I'd have probably sized up somebody too, you know. And they was like, what you think about this atmosphere? You know, I said, man, this is great. You know, I said, not quite like the Superdome with 80,000, but
not quite like it. Not quite.
Hit the button, Monty. Hit the button. Hit the button. He just stunned it. They tried the big time Mr. Kelly, and what he do?
No,
he pulled the Bayou Classic.
He got a joke.
The Bayou Classic.
Brought that joke out.
It wasn't a big time thing. It was just to let them know that this is. You know,
Mr. Kelly.
It's not my first role.
Right, Mr. Kelly, when you let somebody know, that's called being big time.
Hey, he cutting clubs. Don't bring no club around.
So your last 10 years as a referee in the SWAC, you worked in the Southland, you worked in the Pac-12. That's just a awesome thing. Like, that's just a credit to how much work you're doing in all those high school games and everything else. Just that work to get there. That is a grind.
And the Pop Warner games too.
And all the Pop Warner money you steal.
Have uniform, might as well use it.
So Eddie, I want to go back to, you said you were chasing a dream for 10 years. So how exhilarating was that when you first got that referee game in the SWAC?
Well, I was the headliner,
but no, I'm talking about as a referee. That's what you paid your dues. You want to be the referee.
Well,
right?
I tell you what, that would, because that's old hat, you know.
Okay.
Even though I got something for you on that too, but you know, the first thing is, you know, to have that first game, and I'm at Valley, you know, and I fly into Jackson and go in to do the game, and it's just that I want to see personally if I can call a college, you know, and to hear the guys, James Carter, who's now referee in the SEC, was I think he was a field judge in the game. Anthony Johnson was the line judge across from me, and I think Turner might have been in the game at back judge or whatever, and a couple other guys. Drake was referee and all, you know. but just to have them say when the game is over, you can work. That was just the most fulfilling thing, because, you know, after grinding that long and doing all these scrimmages and,
Right.
and you know,
Right.
watching film and working with guys, you know, and stuff. And we're very fortunate here in the Houston area to have, you know, actually we got a guy in every conference except the Big Ten, you know, in the Houston area. So the guys that were training us and working with us, and to get to that point and get it validated was just excruciatingly nice. You know, I was on cloud nine from the time I got on the bus and put my arm on the back of the seat and noticed I didn't have my down indicator.
Turn the bus around.
Hey, hurry up and got there, and I knew Anthony probably better than anybody else on that crew for that first game. I said, "Hey man, you got an extra down indicator?" And you know what his answer was? "I don't have one either." So we grabbed one of the training girls, and she took off her rubber bands off of her braids, you know, the black ones. And I still got that down indicator today.
There you go.
You know, for that game. And so it was neat. It was neat, man. So I was like on cloud nine to the next game, you know.
So
But
how much Cavassier
referee?
How much Cavassier you get after that?
Whole fifth, man. Whole fifth. I was good.
So you can't be like Cravonne going around saying, "I need 15 minutes kicking over Gatorade." You gotta go with the flow. You gotta be able to relax and adjust.
I know that's right. Hey, Cravonne can tell you about those walks and what's that? Not Grand. Where is
Cedar City.
Cedar City?
Cedar City.
You know, from the dorm back to the hotel, and we
The
kicked
Take
it up.
Council Camp. Oh yes.
Yeah.
So Eddie, a part of your grind I know in Texas is driving. I mean, just like in California. So how far were you driving to go to all these different spring games? I mean, you were going to A&M, were you going to Baylor? I mean, how far were you going to just get that exposure in the spring?
Actually, we would, which is not that bad, you know, so because we got Texas Southern, Prairie View, A&M. Now we got HBU. You know, we go to Lamar, we go to Sam Houston. So, you know, we really didn't ever, to cover all of those, you know, was enough, you know, to get seen and this and that. So I rarely went any further than Sam Houston or Lamar or Texas A&M. So, which is, I think A&M might have been the longest drive out of all of them, you know. So it wasn't that bad on the college grind, you know. And to answer your question about referee, Ashante, at Southern, my first game at referee, and in high school, as referee, the referee and the umpire come out from the visitor side, okay? But in college, you come out from the home side. And I run over, what I always did, the visitor side. Me and the umpire over there, and we chatting it up, you know, and this and that. And Jerry Gooseby is the line judge, and he's on the home side. This was before we would switch, right? And he's over there, come here. I'm like, no, I'm good. And he goes, come here. I'm good. So we run out, we do a coin flip, and it's a hell of a game. Ended up, I think they beat Tennessee State 14-7, you know, and we get in with the TA after the game, and he say, "Mr. Referee, not a bad game, this and that. But tell me why you came out on the visitor side instead of the home side." So that's what I always do. And I tell you what now, sometimes they get you in trouble, but you tell the truth, and it just is what it is, you know. Even with Mr. Mitchell, you know, that's the way I do it, you know. And I guess you get enough clout that you can get away with some of that sometimes, you know. So I said, well, in college, you need to come out from the home side. Yes, sir. I'll be there the next time, you know.
So Eddie, a lot of us, I mean, we're gonna jump back and forth, but I want to get to now. You working on the field, you working all these big time games in the SWAC. If you look at a game in the SWAC when you was there, if it was on TV, you was a referee. Now your career is progressing, it's doing what you wanted to do, but yet now all of a sudden off season comes and there's an opening at supervisor position.
Yeah, it was it was one of those things that I kind of not say that knew it or whatever, but that same season I had the MEAC SWAC challenge, and we had the new commissioner, Dr. McCullough, and at that game he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you," and I said, "Cool," and he didn't get back to me until I was at a game in Mobile, Alabama. And we talked a little while, basically he asked me my relationship with Mr. Mitchell and how things were going. And first thing he said, well, do you have a good relationship with him? I said, yeah, I have a great relationship with him. I think he's doing a great job. He said, well, good. I'm talking to the right guy, because if you didn't have a good relationship with him, I don't think you'd be the person to talk to. So, and we talked, and I even told him about how we needed more money and this and that and things like that, and we went on and on a little bit. So after that conversation, I had a conversation with Mr. Mitchell about it, and he basically told me, he said, good, I'm glad you let me know what y'all talked about and stuff, He said, now, one thing I want you to put in the back of your mind, may not happen, but I want you to put this in the back of your mind. If he offers you my job, I want you to take it. And I'm like, what? He said, yeah, I want you to take it. He said, new commissioners like bringing their own guy, and kind of like Cravonne said, you're basically the face of the SWAC. And if he wants you to lead it, that'd be great, because we can keep this thing going in the right direction. He said, don't turn it down because of the friendship that we have and the way that we, care about each other and this and that. He said, because I've had a great run and it'll happen, it'll happen. And Bum Phillips always said it the best. We all are hired to be fired eventually, And he say, if it goes down like that, take the job, don't not take the job because of me. So, I was like, okay. And went through the season and really damn near forgot about it, and worked the championship game. That's the first time we moved on campus at Alcorn. You talking about another beautiful setting, nothing like the people in the Superdome, but you talking about an atmosphere, man, where you could hardly hear yourself breathe, in there. It was electrifying, and a hell of a game and this and that. And so, and after that game, we went on and me and Mr. Mitchell talked, and he said, hey, I'm supposed to find out, say this was Thursday, I ought to find out Monday what he gonna do, So when he called me Monday, he said, hey, I'm gone. I had a good run, right. And if, remember what I told you, if he asks you take the job, take it, So I said, well, you did a hell of it. And he did. Mr. Mitchell brought us a long ways in the SWAC. And as his predecessor, I'm trying to push us even further, But after a couple of days of people calling me, and saying, what's going to happen, this and that, I said, well, hey, I tell you what, I'm the president of the association, and I got a pair, as you know. I said, I'll call the commission, and see what's up. So I did, and he said, hey, Mr. Kelly, how you doing? I said, I'm good. He said, I know why you're calling me about the move I made, and this and that.
Yes.
What'd you say? Oh, no. I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry. And he,
Sorry about that, Mr. Kelly. Ashante is crazy.
trust me, I know. And,
boss, you gonna put me out there like that?
don't get me started on you, Ashante. So we talked a little bit, and basically we were talking about, asking which way did he want to go with a new supervisor, and stuff. And he said, well, I'm looking for a SWAC guy, which we all felt great about, that if it was somebody with SWAC ties, they would know how far we had advanced and, and he wanted to continue to advance, we'd be good. So he asked me, he said, would you be interested? And I told him, yeah, I say, I interview, and this and that. I say, but at the time I'm still in the Pac-12, and I got some irons in the fire. Matter of fact, I'd heard that Gerald Austin was going to hire me in Conference USA as a referee, So I was like, I know, man, this year too, I know I had a good 5 years left in me, on the field, So we talked and all, and he interviewed a couple other guys also and stuff, and got a call that February say, Mr. Kelly, if you want the job, it's yours, So I took it, and we've been ripping and running ever since. We had a decent season last year. We had some bumps in the road that I think that now we've ironed out, with guys like Chuck and Cravonne grading film for me and stuff, and getting on these Zoom calls and stuff to straighten guys out and, get an opportunity to get better.
Well, Eddie, you just made a great transition to us, because for the first time on the Unofficial Lounge, we brought in a surprise guest, and we brought in a friend of the show, Mr. Chuck Stewart, back of the show. You with us, Uncle Chuck?
But Eddie, hey man, I'm glad to be a part of it, and anything you can have me do, just holler. I'll be glad to do it.
I appreciate it, Chuck. I seriously do.
What's in that cup?
No
problem. Okay.
Not XO, Chuck.
Okay.
It will be when we get together. That's right.
It definitely will be.
So, Eddie, let's describe the feeling of the bands in the SWAC. Everybody else do these boring games. So let's describe that feeling of being a referee and the bands rocking. And
I really love our bands in the SWAC, except we got this little policy that they're not supposed to be playing when the team is coming up to the line of scrimmage, and they don't care. It could be their own team. They really don't. I talk to band directors as much as I talk to coaches, and they really believe that 75% of those people in the stands come to see them. And they honestly believe that. And some of them are right.
There you go.
And you have to give them their props. But, it was also using your skills to get them to comply, and my thing would be like, look, I don't want to stop the game to say, but the Jackson State band, please refrain from playing while the teams are coming up to the line of scrimmage. Thank you. And I would say that, thank you. And then I would get booed tremendously. It was just horrible, but they worked with me a lot. But the thing is, they knew when they saw me coming that I would enforce it, and when guys don't enforce it, they take advantage of it, So the bands are loud and they're good, and they are a big part of what we do in the SWAC, but they also got to learn that there's a time for everything, And what really gets me, if we're on TV and we got those 3-minute times and then quiet, wait, no, this is the time that y'all should
TV time out, they not playing.
Yeah, y'all should be getting it on now. I'm even listening now,
Right.
Come on, But they wanted to blare it out when TV was there, So it's another thing that you have to deal with, But it's a fun part of the game, They are a big part of what we do, and people do come to see them. So you got to have to give them that slack, you know, when the game is, if it's a tight game all the way through, I wouldn't cut them any slack, you know, but once it get to, we all know who the winner is, I would cut them some slack, you know.
So Eddie, we like to bring people behind the curtains in the unofficial lounge. And we all know it takes a lot when it comes to officiating, people helping us out and getting to know people coast to coast. Tell us the first time you remember meeting Mr. Chuck Stewart, because these are always good stories.
Hey, I tell you what, and Chuck would never let me finish this story, but I used to admire Chuck when he was in the league. You know, number one, he was a line judge, and I was a line judge, so I would watch him. Didn't know Chuck from Adam, you know, but I would watch him do his thing, you know. And like Chuck say, he got write-ups in the league behind using those nice words that y'all don't want, and being a little overweight. And I was a little overweight, you know, so we had a lot in common, you know. I didn't even know we used the same words, you know. But
it's a clean show, Chuck and Eddie. It's a clean show.
I said those words, dude. So, you know, I just always watched him work, and he was working his butt off. So I would try to go do the same thing Chuck would be doing, whether I was in high school, you know, and even when I got to be in college. So Apollo Martin, a good friend of mine who's out there, was my umpire, you know, and we saw eye to eye, which normally my umpire was a lot taller than I was, so I was kind of happy to have Apollo, you know.
A meeting of the minds.
Yeah. Not to mention the eyes. Apollo called me, you know, he said, hey, I got a guy out here that can really watch some film, you know, and he's going to take a look at our game. And I think we were at Alcorn or somewhere.
Uh-oh.
And then he's go critique it and let us know. I said, cool. I said, who is it? He said, Chuck Stewart. And I was like, who? Did you say Chuck? He said, yeah. The Chuck Stewart is in the NFL, you know? He said, yeah. I said, cool, man. So he said, well, once he finished, I'll give you his number and let you call him, you know? So I called Chuck, and Chuck was right to the point, you know? And then, now, let's see, how can I say this?
Keep it clean, Eddie. Keep it clean.
Yes. I don't care what your umpire say. Don't give a you know what, but he ain't worth anything to you where his position is. And that's why he's just calling these phantom calls and this and that. And I know what you're doing. You winding that clock before the chain even get close to get down there. It's other ways to speed up your game. And I mean, he was on my butt, but he was to the point, you know, everything that would help me and my crew, you know. And so, again, like Cravonne was talking about, that I was over the camp from Mr. Mitchell. So we was having it here in Houston. I called Chuck. I said, hey, man, you coming to the camp? Yeah, I'll be there. I said, good. What you drink, you know? So needless to say, a half a gallon of yak later, Chuck and I became good friends.
You know, listen to Eddie. I actually do remember Apollo making that phone call. I'm sure that I was more direct than what Eddie has just got through explaining it.
They told me to keep it clean, Chuck.
This is not an X-rated show, okay? But it gave me an opportunity, and it goes to show you that officiating is a heck of a lot more than on the field officiating and things of that nature. It gave me a chance to meet Eddie and get to know Eddie and be a friend with Eddie. No one would even envision that Eddie and I would be in Utah cooking fish and barbecue for all y'all on the stay here and having a great time. But that's how our bond and friendship got to. You know, yes, right now, Eddie can call me. It doesn't matter what it is, what time, I'm there. Same thing. I can call Eddie, say, Eddie, so-and-so this here, and it's done. And that's just the way it works in this world now that we're in. There's not enough of what I say to us in power to do anything. And Eddie is doing it right now for us. All right.
So Chuck, talking about that, how how does it make you feel knowing that you have been a strong part of Eddie's career and now see him continue on to become a supervisor? Because like you said, it's not too many of us that hold the supervisor position. But how is it for somebody that you had some influence in their career, you now looking to see him as a supervisor for conference?
Well, I don't know how much influence I had in his career, but I am extremely proud. I knew Harold from working a game with Harold at Michigan State umpteen years ago. But the opportunity was presented to Eddie, and I am tremendously glad and proud that he took that. Eddie has created Zooms that I participated in, and he is working his behind off to get his officials to get on the same page. You know, it's difficult to get everybody on the same page, like I said. That is extremely hard to do. And everybody has their own way of doing things. And the SWAC officials are spread out across a greater part of the United States. Most of them are in the South, but they're spread out. And everybody has their own little way they're doing something in their area. And what Eddie's job is to do is to get them all to do the same thing right there in SWAC. And he is doing a hell of a job of doing that right now. So, you know, hey, my hat's off to him, man. And anything I can possibly do is done.
And I appreciate that, Chuck, because, you know, Chuck's got a pedigree that, I mean, second to none. You know, he got one of them Super Bowl rings, you know, he's the man. And to have somebody like Chuck that I can call up on, you know, for advice or like helping with the line of scrimmage guys and stuff, it's just tremendous for us in the SWAC. And it does not go unappreciated, I guarantee you, you know. Here's to you, Chuck.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. So, knowing you two guys, I learned the fine world of XO, and I want to thank you two guys because before I was just a regular VS cognac drinker.
Okay.
You elevated me to XO. I skipped a step, the VSOP to XO. So thank you.
Well, let's get to be the XO on the field.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. The X and O.
Oh, come on, Chuck. You gotta keep it clean.
Yeah, wait, all of us got to get there, man.
That's right. That's right.
So what do you think about Deion Sanders coming into your conference there, Mr. Kelly? Chuck Stewart, he actually said that Deion was one of the best players he had ever seen in the NFL. What do you think he's going to bring to the SWAC?
Well, he brings prime time to us.
Prime time.
From what I understand, you know, he's going to be very professional, and I think he'll be able to recruit Florida, and I think he coached a high school down in Dallas, so he'll be able to recruit Texas, and of course, in his home state now of Mississippi, you know, and probably Louisiana in between. And so I think it's a feather in our cap, you know. I think it'll bring more exposure to the SWAC also, you know, where the TV affiliates may want to pick up an extra game or two from the SWAC, which gives our officials an opportunity to showcase their talents, you know. So I think it's a win-win situation, you know, and I think Jackson State has always been one of our talented teams, you know, and maybe he can help push them to the next level, because also not only with Deion coming in, we got Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman coming in next year. So, you know, I think it's a great time to be in the SWAC and be a part of it. And as officials, I think, you know, we're going to shine also. So, and as long as, you know, it's more exposure, I think that gives more opportunities to guys to move to the next level. And that's the biggest thing that we want from our guys in the SWAC, you know. We want them to get that exposure so that they can go to the Power Fives. And then we can give some other young men the opportunity.
Now, I would say, Eddie, just my experience of seeing it when you are that mid-major conference, that you do have a lot of transition guys going up and transitioning through. How do you keep that how do you keep more guys like you around in the SWAC? You know, because everybody is looking to
old
move
guy.
up as quickly as possible. But we need somebody that knows what the locker rooms is. We need somebody to understand the
Tell the
nature,
band director to shut up.
right? The nature of the games that they're going to be working. Because I know for me, I never had the opportunity to work a SWAC game, but if I would,
But you wanted that by you. You told me that. You wanted that by you.
Oh yes, and I'm still ready when y'all going in the spring. So I'll go and evaluate any game live. Just let me know which game you want me to go to. But it's a certain nature that SWAC games have that somebody has to be prepared for. So how do you keep that camaraderie of steadiness of people, of officials in your conference?
It's a tough thing to kind of balance out, but fortunately it's been that way, and I know Ashante said it kind of jokingly, but I do want to keep my older good officials around maybe a little longer than in other conferences for that fact, and they're the guys that can help the young guys come along, because on our sidelines, we don't want to flag a fan on the sideline sometimes just because of who they might be, and those are some of the things that you learn as you go along, and stuff. And so I think we got a good mix of guys that work up, like right now we've got guys that are in the Pac-12 with the ODP. We got guys that are working right now, Sun Belt and SEC games, We got some guys that are working in the American. Just moved a couple of guys up to Conference USA who, a couple of them will be working both, So it's great to get that exposure in other conferences and bring some of that experience back, and it's great to get the guys to see that if you work your craft and you do the time in the rule book and in your film study and stuff, you will get opportunity from here. So, you don't know when it might happen, but you got to be ready when it happens. So I think we've got enough guys that are doing both that when they leave full time, that we're grooming other guys to be in that situation, and we probably keep a larger group of guys on the supplementary list than any other conference because of that reason, because when some of these guys go to work up, that gives them the opportunity to work some games. And, you might be the Lou Gehrig, I see you with your hands. Just be ready.
Don't forget about him. Don't forget about him.
We try not to get him. We try not to get Ashante fired on his day off, Chuck, but he ain't doing a good job.
He's not cooperating.
So, Mr. Kelly, so Chuck Stewart out here on the West Coast. You have people like Ashante out here on the West Coast. What's your?
Are you putting your resume in now too? Good Lord.
Oh, my resume been in.
Monty hold up. Monty want to do a replay. Eddie, if you got a replay.
Oh. I was supposed to tell your trade secrets.
Man, come on, Mr. Kelly. Come on, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
So your footprint of your conference is so wide. You're going East Coast. You're going to the West Coast. What about the diversity? Since you are historically black, working historically black colleges, how do you work on making sure that you're diverse in your hiring to make sure that it's just not people wouldn't think there's improprieties or that you're only favoring certain officials?
Well, we're looking for a great official, and not only like Ashante, I've got Hector Harris that's out in California, Chris Meyer, bless his heart, is out there, and John Fallman, Joe Green, who else I got out there that I'm missing? I might be missing.
Britt moved up.
Well, Britt moved up. But Britt,
you got Dwayne Wilson.
Over in.
You got Ship. You got
Ship, Boyd.
Yeah. Ryan Parrish. Yeah.
Yeah, Parrish and yourself. In Nevada, we got Denson and Deion Spinard.
Clipper. Don't forget Preston. Unfortunately.
Preston, your boy. But we're looking for great officials, whether they happen to be female, whether they happen to be black, white, Hispanic, and we get an opportunity, because not only with knowing guys like Chuck and Cravonne, if they have somebody to bring to the table, I know with them coming to me, I can give them a serious look and they'll be ready to work, and with adding the Florida schools, we're going to have to get into Florida and recruit a lot heavier down there too, So, and we got a guy from Nebraska, we got a couple guys. One was from Ohio, stuff like that. So if you're a good official and you're ready to grind, whether it's coming to a camp, and as these guys can tell you, I'm in camps in LA, Utah, Texas, Mississippi. I've been on calls during this pandemic with the Arkansas officials, with the Louisiana officials, with the female officials, and just looking for great talent. And my word to them is work your craft, have a great mentor, and don't be afraid to step out, and go work. Like we talked a little earlier by myself, go work at your position where you're comfortable, because people will see that you owning that, and might not have a spot at that position, but can see that you're a good official and we need to find a spot for you and give you the opportunity.
Let me share something with you. Eddie may not even know this himself. Eddie, what was the Southern's coach a few years ago? Oh, I can't think of his name right now. I know him well. Southern University.
Yeah, Pete Richardson, Stomp Mitchell.
Pete.
Yeah.
All right.
Pete was there a long time.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, they tried to say I got Pete fired just because TSU.
Well, let me tell you about this. Addressing what Monty just said. Pete Richardson was the best man in Sanford Rivers' wedding. And Sanford and I become very good friends. I met Sanford in the NFL and we were very good buddies. So what happened, George from Dallas was on a crew with me in the NFL, and the position came up and they SWAC. So I spoke to Sanford. He said, well, yeah, I called Pete. So he called up Pete and recommended him highly. All right. So I think George was in there, what, about 3 or 4 years, Eddie?
Yeah, George Colvin was there about 3 or 4
about
years.
3 or 4 out of Dallas. So what happens was, and George gets released. So I called up George. I said, man, what in the world did you do? He said, well, I got a phone call from the commissioner, but I understand Pete was the one that's instigated this. And he didn't appreciate the diversity we had as a referee in the Bayou Classic. Okay, which led to then I knew Harold Mitchell, and Harold calls me up and out of nowhere. I didn't even know Harold had moved to Atlanta, wherever he moved to, and say, hey, I understand you're a good friend with so-and-so. Can you? So I called up and we put in a word for Harold. Pete immediately called back and said, that's the same thing you told us about the previous person that I hired on your recommendation. So they had, to my understanding, at that time, they had no problem with the diversity, but they didn't want the diversity at the head, as the referee on the Bayou Classic. And that was just one of the things that they didn't want at that time. Now, I'm sure that has changed, but that's how everything has evolved now. But diversity is an issue that we face more so than anyone else.
Definitely.
And it really is. Go ahead.
All right. So everybody out there, if you don't want to supervise the dancing all in the videos, come to the SWAC. Eddie Kelly, if you can work hard, come to the SWAC. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean dancing in the video?
Dancing all in the videos,
That's a Suge Knight reference from back in the 90s when he was mad at Snoop Dogg and
he was mad at Diddy.
Biggie. It's some hip hop stuff.
Hey man, what you say?
Getting fired on his day off.
On his day off, getting fired.
we can't take him nowhere. I keep telling him, but he don't listen. He don't listen.
So Eddie, Mr. Kelly,
you.
sorry, Mr. Kelly. So we got a little spot in the show. We call it Under Review, and what we do is we ask you 3 questions, and it's just like a real quick instant replay. Put your cap on.
So I get to stand, confirm, or overturn.
It's not that easy, but not that easy. Here we go.
You say it's like replay. I'm just.
It's just the pressure, just the pressure. All right, here we go. But from a man that works so many games, there is no pressure. Mr. Kelly, where has officiating allowed you to travel for football had it not been for football?
I guess doing a game with Southern and Florida A&M in Atlanta in the Dome, where you got 70,000 people, and it's a 35-minute halftime because you got the #1 black band in the nation against the #2 black band in the nation, and it's on TV. And the guy tells me, Mr. Referee, there's going to be like 33, 34 minutes because your football game happens to be around this band competition.
But you're in Atlanta, so would you say, I'll take that?
35 minutes.
All the peach trees.
Wow.
35-minute halftimes.
That's like restarting the game all over.
Almost, definitely. Teams had to re-warm up.
Mr. Kelly. Oh.
They played Reasons, and I see why they were talking about it, because I thought I was at a concert with Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was that good.
Monty, I don't want to get on this under the hood time, but let me share some. I happen to work 2 Grambling games out of the Coliseum. Not a soul come to see the football game. At halftime, I never went to both games. I did not go to the locker room. I sat on the bench and watched the bands perform. Now, Eddie, you may not know a lot about LA, but they marched down, it's called Martin Luther King Boulevard now, for about 4 miles to the Coliseum in both bands. Man. And they had it, that was more than the football. You know, football game just happened to be there. The bands is what the people come to see. Yes, it was the best experience I've ever had, to be honest with you.
Wow.
When we talk about that, though, when it comes to the bands, I actually had a game in the pack, and they played Grambling. I forgot what school we was at. But
in Arizona.
They paid more money for the band to come to the game than they paid for the football team to come to the game.
Cravonne, I did a game called the Tokyo Bowl, where they had SC and Oregon play, and they had Grambling's band in Tokyo playing.
Oh, wow.
I was just about to say at halftime it was Arizona. The Arizona band didn't come out for halftime. Grambling's band came out.
They let them down the whole 20 minutes.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. All right, Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
What career accomplishment has made you the most proud?
Probably seeing my baby daughter graduate, knowing that, you know, my wife and I graduated, all of them, from college, which was one of the biggest goals that I had. And to have them be a part of what I do. They enjoy it just as much. They like Cravonne. They thought after I did alternate at the Bayou and was referee the next year at the Bayou that we were supposed to be there every year. You know, and now they got that, you know, so they can be there every year. Right. And, you know, but that's one of the things that make me most proud, that they're strong black women, and, you know, to be a part of that makes me proud.
Okay, Mr. Kelly. What do you think of when you, as the referee, had to say the previous play is under review?
Well, you know, when I was referee, I was like in charge, dog. Hey, right, wrong, or in between, I had it, and I had the last say so, you know. So if you're talking about this podcast with me as a referee, y'all better be glad Chuck came on here because I was about to get loose. Honestly, like I said in the beginning, you know, it's definitely an honor to be here. And anytime you can talk football with guys that you know that put in time and they work their craft and they reach out to help others, you know, giving back has been really, really neat, you know, and like I talked to Chuck before I took this job also, was in the running for it, you know, and Chuck even told me, you know, he said, hey, you can help others, you know, and that's
you the man with the games now, the guy we've been looking for our whole career. You know, you the man with the games.
Hey, it's something when you got those games in your pocket. People treat you a whole lot differently.
That's why you Mr. Kelly. Hey, Mr. Kelly, you need some more cognac.
Hey, if you
Ashante
can give
got
me
that
some
for
right
you.
now, Ashante, you're good.
You got to buy you clack if he can give it to you right now.
Hey, I'm good. You get it right now, Chuck.
I still can do Instacart.
See, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
There
I
you
say
go.
it right now. I didn't say it in a minute.
Eddie, I have my own thoughts on this, but let me ask you a question. What has been the most difficult transition that you've had from on the field to being a supervisor?
The first one, Chuck, was we were at a game, you know, and my thing at referee used to be that, you know, you had all this administrative stuff to do to make sure everybody was straight and all of that, you know, and then I get to the game and I'm walking the field, you know, and it's about right before we go in to the dressing room or we just come out the dressing room and we're ready for the game. That's when I would be the most ready because now I get to do what I want to do and that's called a game. And I was with a crew, you know, and we walking and, you know, and I'm about at that feeling, you know, I'm ready to do the game. And they got on stripes and I got on a jacket and some khaki pants or some suit pants, you know. And that was one of the most difficult at first, you know, not to still be a part of it, you know. But now that's one of the best things because I can learn, help them learn the things that I learned from guys like yourself, you know, to pass it along and to give them that opportunity to be the best that they can be, you know. So it's been a slow thing from getting off the field to still wanting to be on the field, you know, and to give away all those nuggets that, and I guess I was a little greedy and I might have held in some of them. I didn't get all of them away, but now I give them all.
but
Just in
And I
case
tell
you
them the
want to
reason I
hold
didn't
to
give
a
them
few.
all away because I wanted your games.
Horse say, don't let that sport coat fool you. He got a officiate uniform in the trunk.
No,
Stay
I
ready.
would have thought, well, no, let me tell you what my thoughts on that are. At the SWAT camp, between the parking lot and the hotel, there's this local area that it is known as Eddie's Corner.
Yep.
And that had to me have been difficult for you to release that corner to someone else. I know it had to have been very difficult, man, because it was, I mean, you would see more people there in the evening than you did in the conference room.
Yeah.
So that had to be difficult, man. That's
Hey,
smart.
it's just like you gave me good advice, Chuck. I had a bunch of them say, hey, man, you got to get a corner up. You know, you supervisor now.
I know.
You can come through and visit, then you got to go.
I was one of them that said that. I understand.
I know. So, yeah, you know, because the thing was the socializing part was big to get the camp to be what it was, you know, not just a place where you're trying to get hired and everybody was there was trying to get hired, you know. If they say they weren't, they lying, and, you know, they should be, you know. But it was that opportunity to mingle with all of these guys, you know, from Cravonne, to Ron Cherry, to a Chuck Stewart, to a Ron Tolbert, all of these guys that you see on TV or that they're doing great things, to just have them let their hair down, And so it did become a great big part of the camp, and we really made it pop, So, and I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. So yeah, you're right, Chuck. You're right. But this podcast, I had to pick something that was.
Well, you still got Cravonne, Ashante, and me. We be out there like the corner boys.
There you go. There you go. As long as y'all keep it going for me.
So Eddie, before we jump off, and thank you again for coming and joining us today. But last question for you. You guys in the fall of 2021 are going to add 2 teams. So that's going to take you to how many teams for your conference now?
That will give us 12.
That'll give you 12. So just doing my numbers in my head, that means you're going to have to hire a whole nother crew.
Yes.
Okay. So how are you going to prepare yourself now that we don't know if we're going to get a camp season in? We missed all of 2012 of camps, of being able to get that exposure for the new officials up and coming.
12.
2000.
He's only 8 years behind. That's all right.
What you drinking?
Just flip the numbers around. That's right. I got you, Cravonne.
That's the last time I went to a camp. So sorry. My brain got mixed up. But we lost all the camp season 2020. So 2021, we're not sure if we're going to be able to get camp. So how are you going to prepare and be ready to expand your staff out a whole nother crew going forward in the fall of 2021?
Well, it's a mix of things. Number one, our championship game will be May the 1st, I do believe. And my camp this year would have been the next week. And in 2021, it might still be the next week after the championship game. So, looking at those possibilities now, because right now in Texas, our high schools are playing. We started out with the 1A and through 4A, starting on the regular Labor Day weekend. Our 5A and 6A schools are coming in this week to start playing. So if things go well, and we've been fortunate in the Houston area where we hadn't had to cancel any of the games because of COVID. In Dallas area, they canceled a few games. So if that continues to improve and we do the things the right way, there's a good possibility that our spring training for the high schools will go on as they normally do. And we got a great venue already for the camp with hotels, and we were really going to try to work closer to the hotel this year with all of the schools in that area, and they're still agreeing to be on board. It's still in that wait and see thing there, but I think my camp will help tremendously to look at a lot of people, and I try to go to as many camps as possible, So last year I got to hit a camp in Dallas in January to look at a bunch of guys, and came out to California to the Don Taylor camp, and I hear he's trying to get that together to still go on. So if that happens where I could hit those 2 camps before our season start, then as our season go along, we'll go from there. I also have, I got the utmost respect for the MEAC and Andre Lowe and his guys, and with them losing teams, it's a possibility that some of those guys might come over, just for the fact that he would lose crews and I would have to gain a crew or 2.
Right.
So,
and plus, you say you're going to have to stretch out to Florida a little bit
definitely,
more.
Definitely. And we got some guys from Florida,
Right.
So it's not like we reinventing the wheel,
Okay.
So we'll get to Florida and look at some people also, and some of our guys in Alabama down by Mobile and stuff like that can get to Florida too, So we're definitely looking to expand, but we don't just want to have numbers; we want to have quality,
Right. Well, Eddie, once again, sir, thank you for joining us on the Unofficial Lounge. Chuck, thank you for being our surprise guest today. It was great to sit down and talk to you, gentlemen. And I can't wait till we can do it in person and have a nice glass of XO with us.
Thank you, boss.
My pleasure to even be a part of it with Eddie. It really was. So, Ashante, you got a way to go to be right there where you want to be. Move to Florida, sounds like, man.
Move to Florida.
Hey, Arkansas wouldn't be bad either.
I'm just playing, man. Just kidding with you.
Hey, they got a center in Florida, so I can transfer.
I hear you, dude. But again, guys, it was an honor, and I appreciate it, and hate that we couldn't make the last time, but, it was fun to be here, and hopefully those that catch you guys, can get in touch with me. As Ashante can tell you, I'm one of those guys that I'm accessible, So I don't mind talking to you, and I'm like Chuck. I'm kind of brutally honest sometimes, but it is what it is. But we're definitely looking for quality officials that put in the time and grind and want to move up. So that's what it's all about.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Eddie Kelly, coordinator officials of the Southwest Athletic Conference. Thank you, sir. On the next episode of the Unofficial Lounge, we speak to first-year Pac-12 official Maya Shaka.
And now football, I understood football was now becoming more political because there was less people to protect me. I was pretty much on my own at that point. And me, I'm not a political person. I'm like I like to get to know people. That's how I am. I'm a genuine person. If you're not my friend, I can't fake be friends with you, And so I noticed that was like a huge thing. The next step up with officiating, you had to learn to be political and had to learn to play the game.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Remember to please like and subscribe, as the Unofficial Lounge is available on all your podcast streaming outlets, including Apple, Google, Spotify, and Anchor. We look forward to you joining us next time in the Unofficial Lounge.